Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're okay. Hope you can see me all right. So, this is the Autism and University Workplace Masterclass for the corporate sector. So, whether it's a small business, large business, anyone in that sort of field. So, the session today will probably be between 30 minutes to an hour. This is day one. We're here till Sunday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday we'll be here at 2 o'clock at the same time, and we'll let you know about the sessions Friday to Sunday as well. They will be repeated in the group, so the replays will be available in the group anyway. So if you are watching this on a replay, hello to you. If you're watching it on YouTube as well, because it will maybe go on there as well, hello to you as well. So my name's Ben. We're going to get started. So can we have the next slide, please? So as I said, we will be putting it on YouTube at some point as well, just in case someone can't access the Facebook group. You can use the chat function in Facebook Live. We're streaming from Zoom, but we will pick up those messages as well. Next slide, please. We'll turn my camera on and off from time to time as well. Sometimes my lights flicker. And I like wearing my glasses as well. I hate wearing my glasses on screen, if I'm honest. So I'm just going to mute my camera for a bit. I'll keep popping on and off though. Plus, for some autistic people, if they're on there, or ADHD, you might struggle sort of looking at me all the time, which I don't want you to be doing. I want you to be listening and actually looking at the presentation as well. So, just going to explain who Autism and Neurodiversity Coaching are. So it's founded by myself, Ben Holmes. We've got a team of neurodiverse employees, quite a mixture, ADHD, autism, dyspraxia as well, dyslexia as well. I'm a qualified autism practitioner myself. I'm also autistic. I've got a million other conditions as well. For example, ADHD. I haven't actually got a million conditions that I know of yet. Probably not possible anyway. So yeah, got ADHD, dyspraxia. I've also got OCD, anxiety, a bit of depression thrown into the mix as well. It's probably things I've got that I'm not aware of yet. Next slide, please. I've popped my sunglasses on as well, actually, because I prefer having sunglasses than normal glasses. You don't need to know that really, but a bit of useless information there. So, in terms of what we offer as a business, so coaching and training, so coaching for neurodiverse individuals, friends and family members as well. In terms of training, so training for businesses like yourselves if you're listening in, but let's say it could be a large corporate business, a small business, it doesn't matter. Mentoring for staff and management, so you may have autistic staff, you may have managers who have autistic staff who don't know how to support them properly. There's also awareness sessions. I prefer it to be more acceptance sessions, but for the time being it's awareness on what autism is, how it affects your staff, good and bad, strengths and also struggles as well. We also do a lot of other neurodiversity related activities. I like to be involved with autism. It's a real passion of mine, being autistic myself. I've been down the route with many autistic individuals, so I've seen what it's like in the working environment, good and bad. Now, mainly operate online, purely because we can support more businesses and individuals doing that way. I can't split myself in 100 different pieces and go and visit everyone as much as I'd like to. To be honest with you, I prefer online as well, being a bit selfish I suppose. Don't have to travel as much, so that's just being honest as well. Although I do like visiting businesses, I like the mixture, to be honest with you. It's nice seeing people. I don't want to be indoors all the time, to be honest. But just not every day, I don't want to be outside. So there you go. Next slide. I'm going to try and miss the please bit off if I can. I didn't do too well earlier. So, why are you here? You're not listening to me waffle on for ages. You're here to learn about autism, neurodiversity, mental health, and how it affects people with the conditions. So, you're good and bad, or positive and negative, however you want to word that. So, by learning more about the above, this will help your business to do numerous things. So, for example, first off, it will help you to, support your employees. So, if they're neurodiverse or they have mental health conditions, if they may be struggling, they may just need a bit of support. So, if you do that, then you're going to have a happier workforce. Then they're going to be more likely to sort of want to do a better job. They're going to want to work for you. That improve their employee well-being. So if they're the happier team in general, then they're more likely to work harder, to feel valued in what they're doing, to actually want to be there. And then as a result of that, you're going to boost your income as well. So if you've got a team that's happy, they're wanting to do the job, they're working hard, then you're more likely to increase your income, which as a business is obviously very important. It keeps everyone in jobs, keeps everyone ticking along. Next slide. So as a result of all that, ignore that. So as another thing of being on this training, you can support your neurodiverse customers or customers who have got mental health conditions. So you've got your employees you're supporting, then you may have customers. So if it's clients, whatever business you're in, people you're ringing on the phone, people you're doing training for, whatever sort of work you do, it'll make your customers, clients want to speak to you more. So there'll be, if they're getting supported, they feel like liaising with your business, they'll feel more accepted and they'll get more benefit out of it. Then if that happens, they're more likely to sort of want to buy from you or use your service or buy your product, which of course then will boost your income as a result of that. So you've got happy customers. It's okay. So you can go to the next slide. It's fine. Thank you. So you've got your happy customers. They walk into your shop or they deal with your company or call you on the phone, whatever it is. They get a good service. They feel like they're listened to. Their needs are met as much as they can be. I'm not saying you have to, bend over backwards and give them absolutely everything they've ever wanted, and let them take the mick with it. But at the same time, just the basic needs often aren't met. It happens to me. I ring someone up and I can tell they have no idea about autism or anything, and it just gets frustrating. So you just don't want to deal with them again, basically. So, and obviously just on that, like I say, if they're happier, then they're gonna obviously want to buy from you. So if I keep reiterating that, but I feel it is very important. It seems very simple to say, but I know for a fact this doesn't happen in a lot of companies. I've worked in them, I've dealt with them as a customer. It just doesn't happen a lot of the time. So I really want to get this point out there, because it's not just benefits himself, it's every neurodiverse person out there, family members. It benefits millions of people, and it should benefit yourself, because then you're making more money, which is what it's about, a lot of it, isn't it, to be honest. So how does it work and what we'll be covering over the next week or so. So today we're going to look at autism, what it is, what's neurodiversity, as I said before, the strengths and struggles of autistic employees within a corporate business. So on to Tuesday, tomorrow, the recruitment process, hiring autistic staff in the corporate industry. So look at some of the barriers that are sort of there. Wednesday we move on to neurodiversity. Sorry, move on to other neurodiverse conditions, should I say. Autism is already neurodiversity. ADHD, dyspraxia, dyslexia, and the strengths and struggles of those. And then also the recruitment process of hiring and retaining. So we're going to cover more things on Wednesday. Going to give you a bit more of a snapshot on each condition and how that affects your workforce and your customers. Thursday, we're going to look at what is mental health and how this affects, again, customers and employees, and a bit of a recap of the last 4 days. On to Friday through to Sunday, we're going to do some interviews. We're also going to be explaining what else we have coming up. So on to the next slide. So a bit of information, general information for you, which is very relevant to what we're doing, what we're coaching and training. So how much does it cost to hire a new employee? Now, if you have a look on the internet, you'll get different figures for this. Now in the UK, according to some sources, it costs on average £3,000 to recruit. Training can be well over £1,000 and numerous other costs. Now, of course, that can massively vary. If you're a massive corporate business, it may be a lot more than that. If you're a smaller company, it might be a bit less. So, I'm not saying these figures are gospel. Next bit, please. So how much does it cost to replace an employee? So in the UK, the average cost of employee turnover, which is based on the average salary, is around £11,000 per person. Other sources say it costs over £30,000 to replace a staff member. Again, depending on where you read, what type of company you are. And others say that replacing an employee can range from 1.5 to 2 times the employee's annual salary. So just on all these figures, and obviously, some are even higher, but just on all of this, there's, I want you to sort of take that in. You might know this already, you might have different stats to me, but the point is it costs a lot of money to replace an employee or hire a new one. So if you've got a lot of autistic employees that, or you've had them over the past or neurodiverse, and you've got rid of them because ultimately their needs are not being met, or they've left because their needs are not being met, you can save a lot of money by actually learning how to support them properly. So basically, it's worth keeping good employees, in my opinion. It's not rocket science. So yeah. And obviously this includes autistic employees. Some are not suited to certain working environments, but there are plenty of jobs they and we can do. But we're just not given that opportunity for various reasons that we'll look at throughout the week. So, next slide, please. I said please, and I said I wasn't going to. Just a few stats on autistic people. Again, these stats can vary depending on where you sort of get that from. There's only, I can't see now, I'm going to put them back on in a minute. It's image and all that sort of stuff, but there you go. I'm fully aware it's inappropriate to wear sunglasses indoors, but there you go. So, there's only around 22% of autistic people in paid work. From that, between 14 to 16% of autistic people in full-time work. Again, you might get slightly different figures elsewhere, but it's around those figures. Which for me, I think is a shocking number when you consider it. 14, 15, 16% in full-time work. I can't remember the figure for the non-autistic, but it's a lot higher than that, a lot higher. And I think autistic is we'll get onto disabilities in a bit, and what my opinion on that is, but if it's classed as a disability, for some people it is, it's the lowest, I believe it's the lowest out of all the disabilities, compared to other disabilities out there. So the point from that is a lot of autistic people can and want to work, but again they're falling short at various processes, whether it's application, interview, or in the job itself. Now, many recruiters refuse to employ Many recruiters refuse to employ autistic people, whether they're doing that intentionally or not. They're rejecting them at various stages of the recruitment process based on things that aren't relevant to the role, basically. We'll get on more into that throughout the week. Most don't provide the right environment for them to apply for interviews apply for jobs or interview, let alone actually get the job and thrive in it. Now again, that's not branding every business out there as negative, because there are plenty that do support. There's some good examples out there that are sort of good at employing autistic people and supporting them. So yeah, it's not like every business is bad, because that's not the case at all. But I know for a fact a lot are not. They're just not supportive. And there's various reasons for that. One could be they just don't know enough about it. And that's fair enough, because if you don't know about something, then it's hard for you to support it. So the next step is to learn about it and find out how you can support them better. So, next slide, please. So on to what is autism. So let's start with what autism is not. Now, I mentioned disability a minute ago. Now, it's important to mention with all this that an autistic person has every right to say how they interpret it. So just because I'm saying something doesn't mean it's gospel. These are my opinions based on a lot of research, personal insights, facts as well. And in terms of being a disability in itself, in my opinion, if you are autistic and you're around people that don't support you, this can disable you and make it appear like you've got a disability. So, if I find if I'm in my own environment with no one around me, I don't feel disabled at all, apart from dyspraxia, which we'll get on to later on. But the autism itself doesn't make me feel like that. It's more the environment and the people around. The way I look at it is, if the majority of people were autistic, then it would be neurotypicals or non-autistic people that would be classed as disabled. So it's just that we're in the minority, that's all. A disease that needs to be cured, you may have heard this sort of stuff banning around on the internet. Yeah, it's not a disease that needs to be cured. I don't feel diseased, to be honest. I don't feel like I've got allergy or whatever, but there you go. Mental health condition. I can see why this is confusing, because a lot of autistic people have anxiety disorders, depression, or other mental health conditions, issues, struggles. So then people can think autism is a mental health condition. It's not, it's a neurodiverse condition, or neurodiverse thing, however you want to word that. A learning difficulty, disability, again, similar to what I've kind of said. Some autistic people do have learning disabilities, and so that can get sort of mixed up with the autism side. And it's not easy to understand if you don't know anything about it, or you haven't got any of these things yourself. It is hard to learn. I'm not saying it's easy, but this is what it's all about, coming on sessions like this and picking things up. And if you already know about it, then great, well done. That sounded a bit patronising, it weren't meant to be. But no, it's great, it really is. A disorder, it's classed as autism spectrum disorder in the DSM-5. I do believe that will be removed at some point in the future. It might take a few years, but I think eventually that word will go, just because that's how people have understood it throughout the years, and we're gradually changing, and now we see it. The last one, again, if people got learning disabilities or something like that, people will get confused and think, they're not. A lot of autistic people are really intelligent, and the thing is, it's just, we're all different. So some are really intelligent, some are not, and it's like anyone else. It's just that sometimes it can come across as really extreme intelligence, or extreme on the other end, and it's sort of, yeah. But in itself, that's a load of nonsense, that last one. So, next slide, please. I've said please for the last 2 or 3 now, but there we go. So, different names for autism. So, ASC, Autism Spectrum Condition. I'm not too bothered. I'm 50-50 on that. I know a lot of autistic people don't like it. They don't like the word condition. Some don't like like the word spectrum, but it's personal preference. Again, if you look right at the bottom, each autistic person has the right to refer to themselves how they want. So some will say ASC, that's fine. The next one down, ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder. Again, I've just sort of touched on that. I don't feel disordered or sort of, I don't know, it's not a nice word, is it? Disorder. I googled what it meant the other day and I forgot now, but yeah, it's just not a nice word, is it really? And I don't feel like it is. So yeah, I don't refer to it as that. But again, if it's in the DSM-5, you know, the official documents, then I can see why people refer to it as that, because that's what it's labelled as. But I do believe that disorder word will drop at some point. Might take 20 years, but I do believe it will. Asperger's syndrome. So you may have, if you know a bit about autism, obviously I don't know people on this call, some will know a lot, some will know nothing, in between. A bit like autism itself, you know, it's a, you know what, not all the same. So the reason I don't like Asperger's syndrome is a guy called Hans Asperger. He was in the Nazi regime. I think he was a doctor there, or whatever it's called then. He was one of the guys who, well, that was it, Asperger's syndrome after his name. He sent a lot of autistic people, or Asperger's if you want to say that, to the deaths basically, because they were labelled as disordered, I suppose, or just whatever you want to say, just not the right sort of people, so they were sent to the deaths. So I'd rather not be associated with that personally. I know a lot of people think the same. However, there are autistic people who say they've got Asperger's, and again, going down to that bottom point, that's their right to do that. Some will say it because they were, I don't want to say labelled, they were given that term Asperger's syndrome when they were diagnosed, so they like to stick to that because it's like, well, I've been diagnosed with Asperger's, so that's what I want to be called as. Not called as, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't want to say labelling's not a good word, but yeah, I want to be referred to as that. And you can get messed up with all these sort of words. It gets hard for me sometimes. It's not easy. You know, labelling, people don't like labelling. It can get. It's not easy. So yeah, I don't want Asperger's because it'd have sent me to my death. I'd have probably avoided it somehow. I'd have like, I don't know. I'd have got out of it somehow. But yeah, that's what they tried to do. I'd have just probably masked, which wouldn't have been good, and sort of fit in for a bit, and then just acted a bit weird when I needed to, when no one was looking, I suppose. But yeah, so Asperger's not good for me, but it's up to you if you want to use that. If you're an autistic person, that's fine, no problems whatsoever. And again, what I'm saying isn't gospel. High and low functioning autism. You may have heard of this one. It's quite a common terms to use. So my opinion, and I know a lot of people agree with me, some disagree, which is fine. High functioning, would I be referred to as high function and Asperger's and autism, so take your pick. High autism, got me speaking now, high function autism can belittle people like me, because I could be struggling with something, or someone like me could be, and people say, yeah, but you're high functioning though, so you just need to get on with it. Or well, you don't struggle that much because you're high functioning. On the other end of the scale, you've got low functioning, and what that can do as a negative thing is you may have someone who's non-verbal, or you may have someone who struggles with certain things, but then the parents or people around them tell them they can't do something, or you can't do that because you're low functioning. You can't get a job because you're low functioning, when some of them can and want to, but they haven't got the skills to speak up, or they're worried about it, or they just believe what they're being told. They're like, well, such and such told me I can't work, so I can't. Even if they want to, they can do a job on a computer, but no one's telling them that. That's just an example. I'm saying all autistic people can do that. So me, long-winded thing with this one, but it's important. I prefer autism. It's just, yeah, that's just me. So next slide, please. I felt like that was a really long one to go through that. So a bit on autism history and prevalence. Don't like the word prevalence, but that's one we use. I don't know why I don't like it really. Just, I don't know, just don't. So the word autism comes from the Greek word autos. Don't know why I can't say that right. Which means self. It's been around for as long as other humans have. Didn't just get invented in the 40s. We didn't just all of a sudden appear or mutate or whatever. But it's new in terms of people understanding it. Autistic people are born autistic and will die autistic. I don't know if I just caught autism with all the vaccine stuff going about with COVID. Maybe I've just got COVID and a bit of autism, but I've been a bit sarcastic there. So, prevalence rates are different in different countries. Over 1% in the UK, some will say 2%, so some will say 1.1%, but yeah, around those figures. Or 700,000 in the UK, which has probably risen since the last recording of that. Of course, there's lots of people undiagnosed, so it's not always easy to tell. I'd have stayed undiagnosed if I didn't find it out for myself. In terms of America, different figures there. You can read it. Some will say 1 in 44, some will say 1 in 57 or 58. So I've just put over 2% there. And the reason being, in my opinion, is just because the diagnostic criteria is different. People are getting diagnosed at different rates and different ways. But there could also be more autistic people in certain countries as well. So, next slide. A few autism myths. You may have heard of some of these. You may have been told some of these. You may believe some of these. Believe it or not, we're not all autistic. We don't all have a little bit of autism. Some of you may have heard that, or believe that. Like I say, it's not true. You're either autistic or you're not. Just that you have different strengths to others. You may hide your struggles more, or have different struggles in different areas. As I said, we've got a neurodiverse team. We've got a few autistic people in the team. We struggle with similar things, but we also are better. I could bet at one autistic person at one thing and vice versa. So, I think the thing with a little bit of autism is, in my opinion, it's that you can have some traits. So, for example, I can have similar traits to someone who's not autistic, but it doesn't mean we're both autistic. Like someone may like, routines. They may like routines, may like a bit of structure. Doesn't necessarily mean they're autistic. We're not aliens, we're all people, it's just that we have different brain wirings, so we're all going to have some similarities. I support a football team as other people do, doesn't mean, we're all, whatever, do you know what I mean? So, all autistic people do not have a special talent. Some do, exceptional talents, some don't. It's not caused by vaccines. You might have seen a lot of nonsense about that, and you still will. Seems to be more an American thing, I don't know. Seems to be a lot on it. If you catch the autism disease, you might get a genius in the family, and then that would be a nightmare to have that. Autism is not a childhood condition. You don't grow out of it. You just adapt as you get older, as other people do. You might get better or worse at things, but yeah, it's not a childhood condition. Autism cannot and should not be cured. Again, fitting the vaccine sort of side of it. Next slide. Just catch a bit of COVID, catch a bit of autism at the same time. Characteristics of autism. And again, not every autistic person has every one. Again, we're all different. We might have similarities in some ways, but not in others. There we go. Restrictive and repetitive behaviours and movements. It's a common one. Repetitive behaviours. So you might, do what's classed as weird behaviour. They might like rocking, pacing up and down your house, tapping on something, whatever it is. A lack of social skills, social interaction. There are plenty of autistic people out there that can socialise completely fine. Some can look like they're socialising completely fine, then sort of mask and hide all of it. When I say masking, sort of hiding how you're feeling. so have an external mask there. But yeah, generally we do struggle socially. It's just how we have to learn it a lot more than others. We have to pick things up. Sometimes we'll come across as rude or blunt without knowing we are, or meaning to, or we realise after that we might have looked like that, but we're not meaning it. Limited interests and diet, generally inflexible in sort of thinking, timings, etc. I mean, me with a diet, I'm better now, but I'm still restricted to a degree. Plus, a lot of autistic people like having the same thing to eat over and over, part of their routine. You know, lead on to the next one. A lot of us don't like change or disruption to routines. Difficulty with eye contact, or may display what's classed as unusual eye contact, like staring for too long, not staring at all. Yeah, a lot of us find that strange and don't really get it. Well, kind of get it, but I think it's still a bit weird in itself. But I know it's part of culture and that's how people are. Extremely passionate about specific topics or objects. Class of special interests, you may have heard that term. So maybe really passionate about one thing, something obscure to some people. You know, like what happened in the year 1403 or something like that. It could be a bit random like that, but there you go. Next slide. So some more, they may appear different / weird, unusual, like I've said, unusual interests. They may be honest and use logic, such a bad trait to have, does get us in trouble a lot of the time. There are times, I would say there's times to be honest, and not even, I don't really get it myself, but yeah, like for example, if, you know, if someone says, I don't know, someone's got self-conscious issues and they sort of say, do I look okay or do I look ugly or whatever it is, and an autistic person, some may just say the exact truth because they've asked for it and say, yeah, you do look a bit ugly or whatever. I've learned that doesn't go down too well. To be fair, I've never been bad with that myself because I picked up that skill when I was younger. Because believe it or not, we do have feelings. Sometimes people think we don't, but we do. Empathy. We do. I'm saying as a general thing, a lot of autistic people do have empathy, even though supposedly don't. Just display it in different ways. But yeah, just the honesty thing. There are times where it can get into trouble, and I understand that. Like you say, if someone says, "Do I look bad?" and it's like, "Yeah, you do." It's like, "Oh, thanks, brilliant." But there are times where, you know, someone will say, "You know, do you think we're wasting time here if they're just sat talking about nothing for 2 hours?" It's like, "Well, yeah, we are really, to be honest with you." But that seemed just inappropriate at times. But I think that's a bit better. Logic, that gets us in trouble. There's a lot of things that people do that don't make sense, but you're supposed to do it anyway. That gets us in trouble. Rituals and patterns of behaviour. May like doing certain things which seem a bit odd, like why does he keep doing that? Why does he keep collecting, I don't know, whatever it is, pebbles or something. It could be anything. Why do he keep collecting pebbles? I don't know. They might just like him, might like collecting him, might get a bit of an obsession. Could be various reasons. They could feel can't say the word, soothing. Could be soothing for them. Could be anything. Patterns of behaviour. They may do certain things over and over again. May become quite predictable in certain aspects. Sensory difficulties. This is a big one for a lot of autistic people. Again, some deal with it better than others. Lights, sounds, and smells. Lights, I struggle with lights really badly. I think because you're aware of a lot more around you, the lights they all take your attention, they all sort of hit you. Sounds, a lot of us can hear sounds better than others. So if something is really loud, it can be exceptionally loud for us. Smells, it could be certain foods. A lot of autistic people don't like aftershaves or perfume smells, which can cause problems with other autistic people if they like having aftershave or whatever. So yeah, just I don't like the smell of coffee or petrol or bleach. But then there are some smells that I absolutely love. I love the smell of a new book. For example, magazines, I like the smells of them. So yeah, it can work both ways. Executive functioning difficulties, gets distracted easily with things. Again, everything's trying to compete for our attention. I could struggle with that. Blocking out other events around us, that can be a problem as well. We could be well above average with some things, but well below average with others. So it can be very much up and down. So a lot of people, the average person, may be sort of okay at most things, whereas we might be really, really good at, facts from ancient Egypt, but then we might not be able to, I don't know, iron or something like that, or cook, or and I'm not saying every non-autistic person can iron or cook. We tend to be more an extreme thing. Yeah, seems to be a bit more up and down as opposed to a level balance to it. Next slide. So moving on to some of the strengths that autistic people may possess, how that can fit to the corporate world. So attention to detail. So they may be able to spot errors or mistakes better. Say if you're sending an email, they might send it right to how you want it to be sent. Being meticulous with things, you can apply that to all sorts of things. I don't know, if you're going for a sales report and one of the figures is wrong and all the team's watching, then an autistic person may say, "Oh, I think that figure's wrong there." They may come across blunt saying it, but I doubt the meaning that way. They're just saying, "Oh, there's an error there." There you go. Preferring routines, so consistency and organisation. Say if you've got an office job, you work whatever it is, I don't know, 10 till 4, they're more likely to sort of be there on time every day and sort of go for that routine, and that's fine. Exceptional memory for facts, numbers, events. If you're providing company information or data, doing spreadsheets, things like that. I don't necessarily enjoy doing that myself. I enjoy setting up spreadsheets and getting someone else to put the figures in, but I enjoy the setting up bit. But there you go. But a lot of autistic people do like things like that. It's my ADHD that gets in the way of that one. Being different, so providing different ideas and looking at things from another perspective, which for me should be invaluable to any business, because you don't all want to be the same, believe it or not. Honesty, again, I can't see how it's a bad thing unless, like I say, you personally offended, the stuff I mentioned earlier. But they're likely to be more clear in communication. They might go the other way, like I do sometimes, and over-explain everything because you're thinking about ticking off every box and making sure everyone's okay. But some are just completely blunt to the point, saying, "I like that, I don't like that, this is good, this is bad," or whatever. And then you miss out all the other stuff in between. Creativity, so creating marketing content, again, bringing fresh ideas, promotional and sales strategies. So they might say, if you're not selling too well, they might be like, "What about trying it this way?" Well, people might not think of that, so it goes against the grain or whatever. An intense focus on a favourite activity. So if they're doing a job they really like, they're more likely to stick at it. They might like doing jobs that other colleagues don't, which doesn't mean you can just lumber them with any old crap, basically, but they might enjoy. I use spreadsheets as an example. I don't want to keep saying that, but it's just top of my head. They might like creating and doing spreadsheets, whereas others might be like, "Oh, I can't bother doing that." So there you go. Might not be spreadsheets, could be cleaning, it could be loads of different things, ranging from top to bottom in between sort of tasks. Next slide. So more strengths: punctuality and reliability, so starting work on time, more dependable to get jobs done. So generally if they say they're going to get something done, they're more likely to stick at it. Now there's a caveat for that. If you've got ADHD, that likes to just do the opposite sometimes. So just making that clear. So if you're autistic and ADHD, you might be, if you've come across them with both, they might be like, well, they're not always on time, because ADHD a lot of time likes to make you late, 5 minutes late or whatever. But there you go. Big picture thinkers. So again, helping the company vision, they can inspire others, so they can actually. Because a lot of people don't have high aspirations. Come across loads of people, and I'll ask them. I say, "Aren't you bothered about doing X, Y, or Z?" They're like, "No, I'm happy doing what I'm doing." Whereas I'm not saying every autistic person like this, because again, we're all different. Some are happy doing what you might think is a menial task because they enjoy doing it and they're happy. And there you go. That's brilliant. Others might think, "No, I want to do X, Y, or Z." Loyalty. If you treat them right, if you respect them, if they're enjoying what they're doing, there's a good chance they'll stay with your company for longer. So again, you don't have to replace them, they don't have to leave, etc. So you're saving money in that sense. You're building, continuity, longevity, etc. And they might not always chase the next role. Some people are getting promotion, then moving to another company and keep working the ladder, all that sort of stuff. They might not be interested in that if they're just happy doing what they're doing. So an invaluable team player in that sense. A fondness for rules. A lot of autistic people like to stick to rules if they make sense. That's a caveat with that. If they make sense. If they don't, then you might get the opposite. You might get, well, why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense. So there you go. But yeah, if the rules make sense, there's a good job they'll stick to them. Not influenced by the majority. Again, it depends what you want. This can be a good thing or a bad thing. I see it as a good thing, but some people, I know for a fact, people will disagree with me on that. If a team leader says, what do you think to this? Some people are likely to just say, oh yeah, that's great, even if it's the most awful idea in the world. Whereas autistic people generally more likely to say, no, I think it's rubbish. So it depends how you deal with that. Less emotional at times, keyword at times. They can think more logically and strategically in times of concern. So if you're in a pandemic, I suppose, I mean, I really struggled through lockdown. There's been a few things, but I benefited driving through lockdown. There were less people on the road, but as everyone else seemed to be like in chaos, like, oh no, the world's going to end, sort of thing. Well, that's not saying autistic people are, because I know some autistic people have had absolute meltdowns and what. So again, we're all different. But yeah, a lot of the time they can be more, because they can turn the emotions off or not feel certain things like you do to a degree. That can bring a strength. Next slide. So some of the struggles within the corporate world, industry. Socialising. Again, we can socialise. Some can, some can't. Some in between. Some struggle but can. So for team events, they may struggle in those sort of situations, being popular amongst colleagues. If there's a lot of unwritten social cues and talking about stuff they're not interested in. You can only talk about the weather for so long. Well, people like me can, to be honest with you, but others can't. They can talk about it all day. So there you go. Honesty, again, keep coming back to that. Stating their opinion, facts when it's socially inappropriate to do so. And again, there are lines here to be crossed. Like, if everyone said exactly what they thought all the time, the world would be in chaos. So I get that. Navigating illogical rules or policies, as I've said earlier, depending on what you like as a leader or manager, this could be a problem for you, but I'll not say any more on that. Plans changing. If meetings get cancelled last minute, that can cause frustration. On the other end of it, if you plan a meeting in 10 minutes, they might be like, no, I can't do that. I'm not prepared for it. Business direction changing. Some business I've been part of before where they keep changing the focus every 2 seconds, and I get why sometimes, but then that can be frustrating. Moving desks, that's a massive one. Some companies do hot desking. It's not good for an autistic person. Generally, some will not care, but yeah, you get your desk set up, you're used to it, you know where you're sat, etc., etc. Now all of a sudden you're moving, you've got to get used to it again. It can take you longer to get used to it. Talking skills, they may talk less, believe it or not, from listening to me today. Yeah, again, it's varied. Some may talk less because they don't know what they're meant to be saying, or they're deemed as socially inappropriate, all sorts of things. Sensory overload, I think I've touched on that earlier, lights too bright, etc. Busy office, lots of noises, people walking about, different things to sort of look at. Canteen, if canteen's next door and food smells coming through, it can be distracting and cause them issues. Next slide. Some more struggles. Don't like saying weaknesses. Maybe I think a better word for struggles. You have to let me know. Let me know in the chat. Also, if you're watching live, let us. I should have said this earlier. I forgot. My bad. Let me know where you're from, whereabouts in the country, what company you represent, work for, own, whatever. How you're finding this as well. Let me know how you're finding it, because I want it to be real value for you. Being honest there, I'm not talking nonsense. I don't want you to all say, "Oh yeah, it's amazing," if you don't think it is. I mean, don't say it's crap. That's not very nice. I've got feelings, sort of thing. But yeah. Climbing the ladder. So a lot of autistic people struggle with this. Again, an autistic person might read this and be like, "What do you mean climbing the ladder? I'm not too bad at climbing ladders." So taking things literally could be a thing in itself. Climbing the corporate ladder. So getting a promotion, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of there's a lot of kissing ass, because I won't say that then, but there is. We struggle with that sort of stuff really badly. Not like in every business, but I know in a lot of businesses it is. I've seen it firsthand. So yeah, we struggle with that, or even just asking. They might even want to apply for promotion. They might feel, "Oh, I don't want to apply for that because I might anger my current boss, or I might lose my current job, or whatever." So there's lots of things to navigate there. We can touch on that in later training if people want me to go through that in more detail. Anxiety, may get anxiety doing presentations, talking to large groups, or just doing the actual day-to-day job. There can be various factors there. Social cues and communication, misinterpretation of verbal meaning. So if someone's saying something to them, they might misinterpret it differently to how it's meant, because sometimes typical people or non-autistic people a lot of the time will say things they don't actually mean. It's just an expression or whatever, and they might take it literally. As daft as it sounds, you could say, I'll only be 2 seconds, and then you're 10 minutes. They're like, "Oh, so you're going to be 2 seconds." Don't send them on a long wait. That would be nasty. For a long wait, that would be nasty. But there you go. So yeah, take things literally can be bad. Challenging authority if they don't agree with them. This can get us into trouble. We'll be disciplined or fired for that. All I'll say is, well, yeah, I've seen poor management. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen it where you're not allowed to say your opinion. You're not allowed to say it as it is, which is really bad. But I know that's how it works. A lot of businesses. I'm not saying it does, and then for any businesses on here, you might be really good with that stuff, and if you are, great. But yeah, it can be a struggle for us. If you don't agree with something, give us a reason for it. Say, "Well, that's fine, you don't agree, but we're doing it because of this." Saying things like, "We're doing it just because we've been told to," will not be a good answer. I can guarantee you, it will not help. If you say, "Well, I see where you're coming from, but we're doing it for this reason because it will help with X, Y, or Z," that will help. Still might not agree with it, but at least it will help. Next one, may need to develop their own systems. So if they're creating spreadsheets, documents, they may need to do things a certain way. The only question I'd ask with that to you is, if it's not detrimental to the business, to yourself or to them, then why not let them do it? A lot of the time they can actually save time by creating their own systems. Inflexible working hours. So obviously every business is different. Some need to work at certain hours, which is absolutely fine. You can't make hours completely flexible to the employee. I get that. But a lot of autistic people do struggle with the 9 to 5 thing. just being in traffic, you can lose. I mean, I've never worked in London, but for those who work that way, I don't know how many hours you can lose a day just being in traffic. That'd just, yeah, be a nightmare. And again, it fits into the illogical thing. Why would you want to sit in traffic for 2 hours? Why? But it happens. I know. Blah blah blah. So there you go. Some autistic people may be really good in the morning. Some may be really good at night. So they're not always working when they're most productive. Again, it's got to fit in with your business needs. If they say I'm better working at 2 o'clock in the morning, like, well, we can't really have you in office at 2 o'clock in the morning. So, I get that. But for example, if it's 9 to 5, say if they felt they were better and if they did 11 till 7 or something, would that have a bigger detriment to your business? If it would, fair enough. But I'm just asking these questions. Next slide. So on to neurodiversity. Obviously, autism is part of neurodiversity, but just the term neurodiversity itself, because it encompasses a lot of different things as well. So it describes variations in the human brain and how the brain is wired differently. This includes how people interact socially, how they learn, the attention skills, mood regulation, and other mental functions. There's much debate as to which exact conditions make up neurodiversity. For example, OCD is an anxiety disorder, therefore not a neurodiverse condition, but others would disagree. Some people include OCD as a neurodiverse condition. So again, there's always that debate there. It is commonly accepted that neurodiversity is autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, those four, and then a lot of people include dyscalculia and dysgraphia on top of that. Again, some will add a few others into there, some will not. There's some which are borderline between mental health and neurodiversity in terms of people's understanding. They're like, well, it could be either. And a lot of this is still new to people in terms of what fits into which. So these conditions are lifelong. I think that's what sets it apart from mental health. You can have some mental health conditions for a certain period of time, whereas neurodiversity, you can't just get rid of them, you can't chuck them away or whatever. People don't grow out of them. Next slide. I think we're coming towards the end, I think. So people often confuse neurodiversity with mental health condition. Just said that. Said the next bit as well about it fluctuating over time. The term neurodiversity was created in 1998 by Australian sociologist Judy Singer. I think a few others have had claim to it as well. Some others, there's always some people that crop up. There's also much debate as to whether neurodiversity is disability or not. Touched on autism with it earlier. A lot of autistic people and ADHD do not refer to them having disability, whereas some with dyslexia or dyspraxia may say they've got a disability. I look at it as dyspraxia. I've got dyspraxia, not dyslexia. I look at dyspraxia as disability for me. I can't do certain practical things because of my dyspraxia. Whereas the autism, it's just that my brain, I'm just different, that's all. Next slide, unless we've finished. I think that is it. So, take my shades off now, so I don't have to read. So yeah, that's it for day one. Hope you found it useful, picked up something it's useful for your business. We will be doing, as I've said, the rest of the week. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we'll be doing 2 o'clock, same time as today. Actually, I do tell a lie, Thursday is 1 o'clock, but we'll let you know that as we go along. So yeah, tomorrow we'll be back at 2 o'clock and Wednesday. Here throughout the week, you can catch these replays in the group, so don't worry if you've missed this or you've got to jump off, watch the end of it later, that's fine. Any comments in the chat, feel free to do that. It would be appreciated. Other than that, we'll see you at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Thank you everyone for watching.